Well, you have to concur with that. To be paid for something you truly enjoy is a blessing. Despite the winds threatening to blow me into Biscayne Bay, I agree.
Can it grow hair? It can do anything if it puts its mind to it. It doesn't like to travel because its strength is in numbers and you can't get enough Steeler people into the Super Bowl, tickets being limited. But it'll come through.
Okay, you crazy man. Bryant?
Okay, Mike, I don't know about the terrible towel, but the crying towel figures to be in operation today for defensive backs because with John Stallworth, Drew Pearson, Lynn Swann, and Tony Hill in the game, there'll be at least 2 home run threats on the field at all times. Let's go for another scouting report. Join Dick Enberg and John Brody.
And now the excitement of the matchup between defensive back and wide receiver. And they've said for a long time in this game that the defensive back is it's the impossible position to play.
I think it makes it more difficult when you're Dallas defensively because they put an awful burden on their cornerbacks. And they're playing 2 of the best wide receivers in the game. When you're playing Lynn Swann and John Stallworth, you're going to have a problem. They're going to get help in the middle from their safety men, but they're going to need it.
Well, with Stallworth and Swann, maybe the best tandem outside in the game of football. 20 touchdown passes caught between those 2 wide receivers.
I really think those statistics might be a little misleading. Terry Bradshaw has implemented the passing game into the offense for Pittsburgh more and more and more to where they even outgained their running game. That used to be their personality. It no longer is. He has an opportunity to go to Stallworth, to Grossman, to anyone that seems to be open, and they all seem to be open quite a bit.
Don't they go after the ball about as aggressively as any set of receivers in the league?
Well, I think it's why they throw the ball as effectively, Dick. When they get a chance to have 3 receivers that'll all go for the ball in the middle of the field and it's simply sacrifice time, they have an extra addition to their offense.
Well, then, how does Aaron, Kyle, and Barnes at the corners and the veteran safeties, Harris and Waters, stop that pass offense?
Well, I think they have to do it in coordination. However, their personality is not to do that so much. You can isolate an Aaron Kyle, and there will be times when Bradshaw is going to find an isolation on Kyle, the other side, Barnes and Washington. However, the less opportunity Dallas gives Pittsburgh to utilize that fact, the better they'll be.
You know, when they go down the middle, they're going to have to not only find off Charlie Waters, but the other sagacious safety of the Cowboys, Cliff Harris.
These are the 2 factors, in my opinion, that could equalize the defensive secondary play with the offensive receivers. The reason being, I think Harris and Waters both read the quarterback, play the situation better than any 2 in the game.
When Dallas has the ball, Staubach loves that big tight end.
And he better come to him a lot today because the wide side is going to be double covered. They're going to try to utilize as much as they can the opportunity for Ham and Taves to play on the tight end, Billy Joe Dupree. However, it won't be that way all the time. Give Staubach enough time, he can beat double coverage with his wide receivers.
Well, Ron Johnson, although a rookie, he's played like a veteran. I guess you can play pretty well when you have all that all-pro talent surrounding you.
I'd say it helps. When you're surrounded by Jack Ham, often by Wagner, Donnie Shell coming in there to help you out, it does give you a slight edge. You see, these fellas play position and situations as well as anybody. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's the bounce of the ball that's going to dictate it.
It's kind of interesting that we were able to feature Ron Johnson and Mike Wagner, and the other 2 guys with them in that deep secondary are both in the Pro Bowl.
Well, that's the rare trip of this whole game. You've got so many Pro Bowl players. I hope none of them save themselves for the Pro Bowl. They must have 17 or 18 in this game. I just love a game where everything is equally matched and the ball has to go up in the air to determine a winner.
You've made one point with more emphasis than the other, that Staubach has to hit Dupree.
I think so, only because of the way that Pittsburgh plays defense. I think they have to get to Dupree in the middle early, and they will be successful.
Well, with all that speed in the secondary, they won't get much chance to talk during the course of today's game, so let's listen now to the men who will be making the news, the matchups between those defensive backs and the wide receivers.
I think Benny Barnes and Aaron Kyle do a very, very good job for them. I think that if any team is given enough time, they can throw the ball on them. That's a situation that's pretty true for any NFL team.
Stallworth adds an extra problem in that we won't be able to double up on Swann throughout the day. Of course, if we put him in a passing situation, our nickel defense, our 4-0 defense, we'll be able to keep him off balance pretty good about who we're doubling and not really double one man every time. We'll be able to keep them guessing about who will be doubling, but we can't just single in on Swann because Stallworth is such a strong force over there, very balanced passing attack.
You can't be too cautious against a guy like Tony because he's almost something similar to O.J., and you got to take it to him. You can't let him take it to you, and you can't sit back and let him do what he wants to do. You got to go at him. So I would say be more aggressive and go get him instead of him. So you waiting on him to make the move on you.
But he's a good cornerback. His biggest concern, my biggest concern for him is his size, is 6'4", 215, big advantage over me. So I'm going to try to use quickness to combat his size and strength.
The roof of the press box in the Orange Bowl gives one almost a surrealistic view of this Super Bowl 13. The painting itself, the carpet, the way it has been artfully decorated as part of the scene. And now both clubs are out warming up, the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you can just feel now the drama building as fans have had a chance to cheer for the first time for both their Steelers and their Cowboys. Boy, they played in Super Bowl 10. They say that's the best Super Bowl of them all. Lynn Swann would certainly agree, and so would Harris in Super Bowl 9.
The year was 1975. On January 12th, an icy wind swirled around Tulane Stadium, site of Super Bowl 9, where a veteran Minnesota Viking squad met the young and tough Pittsburgh Steelers, outright conference champions for the first time in their history. Minnesota head coach Bud Grant knew that the steel curtain would have to be neutralized in order to win. But this the Vikings could not do, as Pittsburgh held Minnesota to only 119 yards in total offense. Steeler fullback Franco Harris shattered the Super Bowl rushing record set only a year before by carrying 34 times for 158 yards. Almost half of his team